Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
President Obama told us at the start of the referendum campaign that the way forward for trade deals were multilateral, regional bloc trade deals, and that if Britain left the EU, we'd be at the back of the queue for a bilateral deal. Could I suggest to you that he was wrong on both accounts, that the future now is back to bilateral deals? The Trans-Pacific deal is over, TTIP, the North Atlantic deal, is all but over. The French elections will probably kill it dead. And that bilateral deals are back in vogue.
Oh, and there's one more thing you can add. Since
are we at the front of the queue?
I've said all this in print. Indeed.
Have you?
The UK is now at the front of the queue.
Oh.
Well, all right.
Heard it here first.
We're the #2 contributor to defence in NATO. We're America's principal partner in working for global security. And, of course, we're great campaigners for free trade. And we hear that we're first in line to do a great free trade deal with the United States.
And let's start on this question of trade, because it is quite a headline, the idea that a trade deal post-Brexit between the UK and US can be done very quickly and well. It makes it sound very easy, and it's just not, isn't it?
Well, I'm not a trade negotiator, but the President-elect is a deal maker, and he's confident that he can get a good deal, a win-win for Britain and America relatively rapidly. I think.
Which means what?
Well, I think, judging from both the interview and also from the conversation that we had off the record, he wants to see Theresa May as quickly as possible. He wants to invite her to the White House as quickly as possible and then lay the groundwork for a deal.
I am absolutely certain, knowing not just Trump, but knowing many of the Trump team, I'm absolutely certain they want to show the outside world that they're not protectionist. They're worried about trade deals. They're worried about trade with places like China, where state subsidy is closing down steel production in America. Or we could even argue South Wales come to that. But when it comes to countries that are equivalent, that they're open to doing business, I suspect that within the first few months of a Trump presidency, there will be a big statement from Wilbur Ross or someone like that saying, we want to do this. Oh, and by the way, we're not bureaucrats. We're not people who've lived on the public sector purse all of our lives. This won't take 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. We want to get this done in 3 months.
So lots to chat about there with Claire Fox and Matt Kelly. And we're turning our attention to the front page of The Times and their main headline there suggesting that in terms of the queue, if there is one, for a trade deal with America, the EU has pipped Britain to it, is their suggestion.
Well, I mean, just a generally bad set of papers for Brexit Britain this morning, I think, especially on The Times. This is the problem when you dive in and put your whole fate in the hands of someone as fickle as President Trump is turning out to be. It turns out, according to The Times at least, that Angela Merkel has snuck in after Mrs May and Boris Johnson and convinced Mr Trump that actually an EU trade deal won't be so much of a problem, and Britain is now behind the EU in terms of negotiating a free trade deal. Now, this is, if that's true, highly embarrassing for Boris Johnson, highly worrying for us, actually, makes us even smaller and more isolated, and is making the EU looking to be doing the job that people on the pro side have been saying it does all the time, which is negotiate a better deal en masse than Britain could negotiate for itself. I don't think it's unpatriotic to say, wouldn't we be better in a club that could negotiate bigger deals with big partners than being at the mercy of being pushed about by fickle people like Donald Trump?
Oh.
I think there's the response. There's the response from the 52.
Don't panic, Mr Mannering, as they say. Obviously, it's not good if there is a possibility that a trade deal will not be delivered. But I think that there's a bit of a spin on this story, as they say. I mean, I certainly don't think that Britain's whole economic prosperity and trade is dependent on its relationship with America, but it would definitely be the case that it would want a trading relationship with America. I don't know that Trump having a trading relationship with the EU prohibits anybody having a relationship.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what this was. This kind of like she talked to Merkel. They get in first. What does that mean? if we got in second with a
Well,
good
I'll tell
trade
you
deal?
why it
And also
matters.
we've got a certain freedom from EU regulations.
I'll tell you why it matters. It matters because these trade deals, we know, take an enormous time to negotiate and to sort out, and there's only a certain amount of bandwidth. So it's not a question of being able to run as many as you like in parallel. It's an indicator to me that big, serious negotiations around trade deals are looking for main advantage. And the main advantage now, clearly, is with the people who can bring the biggest flow of goods and trades and services, regardless of regulation, to within each other. That's what Donald Trump is interested in. And the idea and the absolute naivety that Donald Trump is interested in anything other than the United States of America is what's at the heart of this.
Whoever thought that Donald Trump wasn't?
Well, we did. Come on, Claire. We remember at the beginning of all of this when Mrs May went over the special relationship and how we're all great friends.
The difficulty I've got with this is I never had any faith in Donald Trump. I didn't think that Donald Trump was going to save Britain, and Brexit is not dependent on Donald Trump doing a trade deal with us. I do not think this is the end of the British economy. I think it's a good spun story for the Times, and I don't think it's a great story for Britain, but that's it.